I love Carolyn's story and her witness of that question of coming to this place and asking you, will I find belonging here? Because so many of us have had that very same experience, coming to this place and wondering whether we will find belonging, and finding that same answer from this community of love, saying, we would be so honored to have you. And so to remember and to recognize that that was 30 years ago, that this same legacy has been being built through the years and long before, reminds us of the sacredness of what we celebrate today. The legacy of those who've gone before, the legacy of those who have built this community, our lives, our faith, our journey, and how grateful we are for that, as well as the responsibility to continue that as we go forward. As we rang the bells earlier in our service, naming those who've gone before us, I was thinking of each one of those names and more as well. I was also thinking of my grandmother, Mama, as I called her. She passed away this past year. But before she left us, she did something beautiful. She collected bells. She had a very extensive bell collection. And before she passed, she picked out one for each member of my family that she wanted us to have. There's the bell with the bluebird on it for my wife, Lindsay, of course. There's the wooden bell for me, because I'm basic. There's the frilly pink bell there for my daughter, Grace, because she is not basic. And for Hudson, that last bell was fashioned from the ashes of Mount St. Helens, which is just so cool. Each one of those bells picked for one of us. And so as those bells rang this morning, the memory of her was right there with me. Isn't that how it works? We all have those things, those smells or locations or items, memories that bring those we love back close, because they're never far from us, are they? They're in us. We carry them with us. It could be the sound of a bell, the smell of coffee brewing, a certain turn of phrase, and suddenly they're as close as our own heartbeat to us. We know that. We understand that. And the early church understood that as well, that surrounding presence. They knew that those who've gone before us are close. They're woven into who we are. And so each year, they would set aside a time to remember and honor their saints. Not the halo and angel wing kind of saints, but the real people whose lives shape theirs and who shape ours as well. There's a beautiful word that they use, that word saint. When we hear it, we look around and we see the stained glass and we think maybe that's part of it, and that's part of it as well. But it's not the fullness of what that word originally meant. The Greek word, as I've shared before, is hagias, means saints, but it also means used by God. Someone who's been used for us, for our world, and who God continues to use in our lives, like ringing bells that still reverberate. Hagias, our saints, those who've been used to pour life and love into this world, into our stories as well. And so as we continue today, take a moment to reflect for yourself. Who are your saints? Who are the hagias in your life? We hold their names in our hearts. We feel gratitude. We feel the love even still. We feel the grief as well, because grief is love that we carry with us until we meet again. Since at least the 4th century, followers of Jesus have set aside a day today called All Saints' Day to remember the saints and those who have gone before us. In Mexico, it's Dia de los Muertos. In Celtic traditions, it's Samhain. It's different traditions, but the same need of our soul to remember that we are connected to our saints in ways that are eternal. And that connection is reflected in this passage in a letter called Hebrews. The author of Hebrews has spent an entire chapter telling the story, recounting the story of the faithful who've gone before, back to Abraham and Sarah, to Moses and Miriam, prophets and poets, and also regular people who said yes to God's dream for the world In this letter, it's like the author is showing us the family photo album, pointing to each face and picture and saying, this is your family tree. These are your people, your saints. Remember them. And then the author writes something that just takes my breath away whenever I read it. In Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1, they write, therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and the sin that clings so closely, and let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us. I love that image, don't you? Of the great cloud of witnesses as just described for us earlier. They're not looking on with critique, but instead surrounding us with the witness of love. Not as distant observers, but as active encouragers in our next lap. Your saints, my saints, our saints surround us even now. There's a Greek word that gets translated surrounded, but it means something even more powerful than just being encircled. It's parakemai. It means to be bound up together, to be woven, to be wrapped up with, to be deeply interconnected. Not just that our saints are around us, but that their lives are woven into ours. We carry them with us. They're part of who we are. They're bound up in us. And we get that deeply, don't we? So I want to show you something that kind of helps me understand a little bit of what that might look like. This is a matryoshka doll, a Russian nesting doll, but I'll call it matryoshka because I practiced really hard how to say that word. This particular one is imported from the Amazon.com. So here's the outer doll. That's you and me. That's us standing here today. But when you open it up, there's more inside, isn't there? Maybe that's my mamaw, right, with her bells and her endless grace that I carry with me. And you open up that one, and inside there's this Sunday school teacher who first told me that God loves me. And there's the mentor who helped me understand a little bit more of my calling. And on, we open up our lives and we realize that we carry more than just ourselves. We carry in our lives their love, their legacy. It's all here within us, part of who we are. Parakemai, wrapped up, bound up in us. And if I could just keep opening these dolls, eventually we'd get back to Jesus, prophets, to Sarah laughing at God's impossible promises, to the ordinary people throughout the story who've lived with love and passed it on. We are not alone. We're not starting from scratch. We are profoundly and deeply connected, parakemai, bound up together with all who've walked this path before us, with all that we carry in us and with us. Their courage carries on in our courage. Their faith strengthens our faith. Their love teaches us how to love. That's what Hebrews means when it says that we're surrounded by, bound up with, wrapped up in this great cloud of witnesses. When you feel you're alone, you're not. Your grandmother's prayer surrounds you. Your father's courage strengthens you. Your friend's laughter echoes in your joy. They are your great cloud of witnesses. And you are never alone. When you feel like you can't go on, there's a whole cloud of witnesses who face their own impossible moments and who cheer you on now. When you wonder if you can make a difference in this world, you remember that you're a part of this relay race that has been going on for thousands of years. I love that picture of the race in the second part of this verse, because this great cloud of witnesses, that it reminds us that we're bound up in something bigger than ourselves. The author writes, let's also lay aside every weight and the sin that clings so closely, and let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us. So remembering our saints is important, but it's about more than just nostalgia. It's also about remembering our responsibility, about recognizing that we've been handed a baton and now it's our turn to run. The metaphor of this race is perfect because faith is not a solo sprint. It's a relay race. Others have carried the baton this far and they've placed it in our hands, and now is our leg of the race to run. The text says to lay aside every weight that so easily clings to us. I've started running just a little bit lately, and I fully understand now why there are tiny little running socks and tiny little running shoes, because I don't want to carry any weight that I do not have to when I'm out for a run. And I don't want to take any side trails that don't lead me to the finish line, right? And it's the same way for the race that we run. When we realize that we're part of something this big, this important, this sacred, it kind of puts things in perspective, doesn't it? Why get tangled up in small thinking when we're part of God's dream for the whole world? Why get weighed down with petty grievances when we are running a race for justice and righteousness? Why let fear stop us when we have so great a cloud of witnesses who faced their own fears and kept going in courageous love? I think of the saints of this congregation, of this community. I'm amazed by the race that they ran, of those who worked in their own ways for integration and for equality when it was dangerous. I think of those who stood for inclusion when it cost them faith communities. I think of those who responded to the hunger of their neighbors and the lack of social safety net benefits, and responded in their time by creating programs that would become network of community ministries in Austin Street that we continue to lean into in our time of great need as well. I think of the faith of those at Arapahoe who helped build this place, and the community that continues to give such life to me and to all of us. People in this building and beyond who helped create belonging, who helped change policies and opened closed doors. They couldn't see where this race would lead, but they chose to run faithfully the part of the race that was before them. And I think of those who are not with us anymore, people who sat in these very seats, who taught our kids, who taught us, who served communion, who built something beautiful and ran with perseverance, and then handed us the baton and said, now it is your turn. We don't get to choose the leg of the race we run, but we do get to choose how we run it. And right now, in our moment of history, we have a race to run. But we're not running alone. That great cloud of witnesses, they're not just watching, they're bound up with us, cheering us on, reminding us that if they could do it in their time, we can do it in ours. When we work for justice and love, we're running with all of those who worked for justice, who chose love before us. When we open doors and widen circles, we're continuing the race that our saints ran. We're running to create a church that looks like the world that God dreams, where all are welcome, all are valued, all are loved, where together we can make a real difference in the real world. Just as our lives are bound up with those who've gone before, the future of those who will come after us is bound up in what we do now. Someday, we'll be part of someone else's cloud of witnesses. Someday, someone will be holding a bell or opening a nesting doll and speaking our names. I want them to know that we ran faithfully, courageously with love, that we faced the obstacles of our time and kept going in courageous faith and hope and love, that we loved our neighbor and we pursued the things that God loves, just as our saints did for us. Friends, today, we remember our saints with gratitude. We grieve them, yes, we miss them, and we thank God for them. We're not just recipients of their legacy, we're active participants in the ongoing story that they're a part of as well, too. And today, the baton is in our hands, and the great cloud of witnesses surrounds us, and they whisper through the ringing of bells and the nesting of lives, keep going. Don't give up. The world God dreams for us all is worth running for. And so today, as we remember, as we light candles, ring bells, speak names, we recommit to running our race, to laying aside the things that weigh us down and taking the next step in courageous love. Because All Saints' Day reminds us that love never ends, that legacy lives on, and that we are all bound up together, past, present, and future, in the eternal, unstoppable love of God. May we run with gratitude for those who've run before us. May we run with courage for those who will run after us, and together, may we all run toward the world that God dreams. Our saints brought us this far. They surround us even now, and for that we give thanks. The race continues, Arapaho, and now it is our turn to run.